Saddam Hussein loved war. In 1990, he invaded Kuwait. Just barged right in, took a couple of days. He was a man of passion, and he was passionate about three things: war, oil, and coastline. This is the second episode of the Wars of Saddam Hussein. In the first episode, Saddam invaded Iran to steal their oil fields and coastline. Britain, America, and France thought this was really awesome. They kept giving him weapons and were like, yeah, invade your neighbor. That's great. We approve of this wholeheartedly and think you should keep doing it. Saddam had a pretty cool country in Iraq. It had oil, it had fertile lands, but he had a very narrow coastline. It made him feel insecure. So in 1980, he invaded Iran. But it didn't work out. So what do you do when you're a young man in love who gets rejected? Well, you look elsewhere, to Kuwait. He called up his buddy America and was like, hey, America, how do you feel about me readjusting the border between me and Kuwait? They're doing this slant drilling thing like in that Simpsons episode, And America is like, well, it's not really our business. We don't want to get involved. America didn't think he was arrogant enough to invade another country, but of course he was. Look, he's got a poster of himself in his office. January, Saddam. February, Saddam. The guy is super arrogant. He invaded Iran and everyone thought it was cool and sold him weapons, so why wouldn't he do it again? Why are people going to get mad this time? Here's the Persian Gulf. And here's where there's a lot of oil. Saddam built up his forces and then invaded Kuwait. And then started looking at the rest of the area thinking, wow, that's a lot of flat desert. I could easily roll my tanks over. Look at that big juicy chunk in Saudi Arabia. That's looking pretty good. So to prevent that from happening, an international coalition was built up. To keep Saddam out of Saudi Arabia and the rest of the region. We're talking America, Britain, France, of course. They love war. But also other partners like Argentina, Bangladesh, Australia, Italy, lots of regional partners like Egypt and Syria and Oman, all working together to prevent further aggression from Saddam and protect the world's vital oil supplies. And finally, when Saddam refused to leave Kuwait, he was forced out. It took a couple of days. Again, it's flat desert. You can just roll tanks through it. Not that hard. Saddam tried to surrender, but his surrender was rejected by the coalition. You see, they were riding high on a big win. And so while Iraqi forces were fleeing out of Kuwait, trying to find any vehicle they could to get out of the war zone, Saddam's plea for peace was rejected, and his forces were bombed mercilessly from the air. This became known as the Highway of Death. These were surrendering troops, many of them conscripts, who had been killed just to punish Saddam for the war. These guys had bombs to drop, and they were going to drop them. Anyway, join us next time when we find out why these tanks are in Baghdad, why this guy can't get a haircut, and when's Outkast going to release another album. Saddam can't finish his plan. One in the bush is worth two in the sand. War, oil and coastline.